Hi guys, welcome to another video of Java tutorials. We were talking about collection classes. In the last video, we have seen a collection class called as vector under the list interface, and we saw the different properties of a vector class. I hope you remember it uses an underlying data structure called as dynamic array. You can have duplicate values, you can have heterogeneous values, and so on. So please go through the previous video if you are, you want to brush up on that vector class. Today we're going to start off with a topic called as stack. We're going to talk about stack class. As you can see in the diagram, you can see that under the collection interface on the top, there are three interfaces called list, queue, and set. And under the list interface, we have array list, linked list, vector, and stack. So today we're going to talk about the stack class. Stack class is a child class of vector class, which we have already seen. Now, whenever we talk about a stack class, stack uses basically, it follows something called as LIFO. LIFO basically stands for last in, first out. So whenever you want to put elements into the stack, it will be preserved, the order will be preserved. So the elements will be placed into the stack one by one. And if you want to remove the elements from the stack, then obviously the topmost element will be removed. So whereas when you talk about queues, it is first in, first out. So the first person who goes in the queue has to come out of the queue first. So that is not the case with stacks. Stacks is last in, first out. So basically we're going to talk about this particular class. So I'll show you a small intro to this stack class. As you can see, stack class is a child class of vector class. So all the functions which are there within your vector class can be used for stack. But normally when we talk about stack, there are mainly two important functions that we talk about called as pop and push. We'll be looking at it a little later. So as you already know, I've just now said it works on something called as last in, first out order. Next, the insertion is preserved because obviously as the elements are getting inserted into that particular stack, the order is preserved. And next is the constructor for a particular stack class is there is only one constructor. Normally in the previous classes we have seen there are many different constructors, at least 3 to 4 constructors are there for most of the classes that we have already looked at. But for stack there is only one single default constructor. It does not have any parameters. The constructors do not have any parameters. So basically it creates a single stack object. Next, basically it is, as you can see there, it is given as class. Whenever you want to create an object for a stack, then you have to write class space stack, right? The name of the class is stack, and then that E represents what kind of elements you want to store into the stack. So for example, I can store an integer value, I can store a floating value, I can store a string or a double value. So what kind of data I want to store will be given by that E that is there within that angular bracket. Okay, so we'll just continue. We'll see some specific functions which are there within the stack class. As you can see here, the first function that we normally look at, these are all stack specific methods. Apart from this, you can use other methods which are already part of the vector class also. So this empty class is basically used to check if that particular stack is empty or not. If the stack is empty, it will return true. If the stack is not empty, it will return false. So either it will return true or false. It's a Boolean value. Next, we have a function called peek. Peek basically just returns whatever element is there on the top of the stack. We will see all these functions with a program a little later. Next, we have a pop function, which is normally always associated with this stack. You already know that this pop function is basically used for removing elements from the stack. So when you place the elements one by one, I want to remove them later, I can use this function called as pop. So it will pop the topmost element on the stack first, and so on. Next, push element is basically used for adding some element into the stack, whatever type of element you want, integer value, floating, double, string, whatever you want. Next, we have a search function also. So basically, I'm sorry, you are not able to see it clearly. Just a second. Yes. So this last function called as search function is basically used for searching the elements within a stack. So for example, I have entered 10, 20, 30, and I want to search for an element 20. If it is there within the stack, then within that search, I can write the element within the parenthesis 20 to search for that particular element. If the element is present, then it will return the offset value of that particular whatever value you're searching for. Now, what is the offset value? We will see a little later when I talk about the program. So if there is no, when you're searching for a particular value and that value is not present in the stack, it will return a -1, which means that value is not present in that particular stack. Okay, so we will now go, we will just look at the program now. As you can already see here, I have opened a program which basically has a class name called stackdemo2. So you can see here the name of the class and the name of the file both are stackdemo2. So remember, in Java, all class names which have the main function within them should the name of the class and the file name should be same. Remember that. So within this main function, I have already created a class called stack. Okay, and there is an object for that particular stack that I want to create, which I have named it as S. You can take any name you want. And then I'm storing, remember I told you that E basically stands for what kind of value I want to store. So in this case, within this angular bracket, I have said that I want to store string values. So if I want to store string values, I can use this string as the string class within this particular angular bracket. Next, I've used this new keyword with the class name to basically allocate the space for this particular object. Now the actual space has been allocated once the right side of this code has been executed. So same thing, it basically tells that I want to enter the string values into the stack. Now this system.out.println basically is used to print whatever is there in the stack. So you already know, so once this line executes, it will create a stack, right? But there is no element in the stack yet. So hence this S basically is an object of this particular stack class which does not have any values. So hence the stack will just print empty. It will not print any elements there. Next, we're going to, obviously we do not have any elements in the stack. We want to add some elements. So this s.push, push is the function basically used for adding the elements into the stack. So one by one, I'm entering A, then B, and then finally C. So the first element that is put into the stack is A, next is B, and next is C. So the topmost element on my stack right now is C, then it is B, then it is A. Now when I print the same stack now, basically it is going to print the complete stack value, that is A, B, and C, whatever elements are there in the particular stack. Now a little later I'll just execute the program so that you can understand it, you can see the answer. Next, we have seen already, I told you a function called search. The search will basically return the offset of this particular value that I'm searching for. In this case, I'm searching for a value called, or a character called A in my stack. So the character A is there, it is present, so it is going to send me the offset. So basically when I will show you with the output. Next we are going to search for a value called element called Z, and Z, as you can see within this particular stack, the Z is not present. So obviously it is going to return a -1. Next we have another function called peek. I have already gone through this. Peek basically returns the topmost element in my stack. So in this A, B, and C, C is the topmost element in my stack. So this is going to just print C. Next, we're going to check using an empty function if the stack is empty or not. If the stack is empty, it will basically return a false, otherwise it will return true. So obviously the stack is still there. I mean, all the elements are still intact. So it is not empty. So it obviously this empty function will return a false. Next, finally we have another function called as pop. This pop function is basically used to remove the topmost element of my stack and return that particular element. In this case, the topmost element is C, right? So it is going to pop that element C from the stack and it's going to print that value here, that is C, it is going to print here. So we'll just run this program once and I'll just show you the output for this. Just you can right click on this, click on run as, and click on Java application. As you can see on the left hand side, the output is given here. So you can see the first statement, the stack is basically printing empty here because we have not entered any elements. Then we have entered 3 elements, and this S is basically printing the values A, B, and C, all of them. And then I'm searching for a value called A, right? So obviously the A is there. So remember, the offset is counted in this way. The topmost element, that is C, will have the value 1, B will have a value 2, A will have a value 3. So that is called as an offset value. As you keep on adding the values, you know, the value of that particular offset will decrement. So in this case, A is having 3, B is having 2 and C is having 1, but I am searching for A and hence it is printing 3 as my offset value. Next, I am searching for a value or a character called Z, and this particular value is not present in my stack, hence it is returning a -1. Next, I'm using a function called peek. Now this peek function is basically used for returning the value which is there on the top of my stack. As you can see, the top of my stack is C, and hence this peek function will basically print C in my output, as you can see here. Next, I am using this empty function to check if that stack is empty or not. Obviously, we have not emptied the stack, we have not popped any elements, hence obviously the stack is intact and it's going to print, or it will return a false value, that is Boolean value. Finally, we have a pop function which will basically, it is used for popping the elements from the stack, and it's going to pop always the topmost element from my stack. So in this case, the topmost element, I have already told you several times, the topmost element that we have is C, as you can see here. So C is the topmost element, and hence this function called pop is basically going to remove that element C from that particular stack, and it's going to return, and it's going to just print the particular value. Now I have another program on this. I will just come back to this particular another program in another video. So thanks for watching. Please practice these programs, look at my PPTs, go through the PPTs, don't waste your time, and get ready for your exams. Thank you.